This is the first lecture video for Unit 0 review of Chemistry 1 topics. So a lot of the topics that we are going to cover in Chem 2, you were introduced to in Chemistry 1. Some we're not going to use again. So this packet is going to serve as a review of some of the skills that you are going to need. So you should have a reference packet in your note packet along with this note packet. If you need anything that you do not have with you, you can find that on the Schoology course. So the first topic that we're going to talk about is going to be significant figures. So sig figs are really important because they help us control the amount of uncertainty in measurements. So these are going to be used anytime that we are dealing with measurements. So moles, grams, volumes, all of those different things. So in this little space here, I'm going to just draw a really rough sketch of the United States. I'm going to show you a little trick on how you can determine how many significant figures are in a number. So there's some things here about determining how many significant figures are in a number, but I'm going to show you a little trick. So this is the United States, however crudely it's drawn there. But over here we have the Pacific Ocean, and on this side we have the Atlantic Ocean. This is going to stand for decimal present, or no decimal, it's absent. And this is going to tell us which side of the number to start with. So if you have a decimal present, you're going to start from this side. If you have a decimal absent, you'll start from this side. So if we have the number 0.00100, and we want to know how many significant figures that is, we do have a decimal point present, so we're going to start from the Pacific side of the number. And we are going to go over in this direction until we come to the first non-zero number, so we count it and everything after it. So there's 1, 2, 3. So this one has 3 significant figures. If we looked at this number, 25,000, a decimal is absent. So we start from the Atlantic side of the number. First number we come to, and everything after it. So 1, 2. So we have 2 significant figures. Even if something is in scientific notation. So 2.40 times 10 to the second, there's a decimal present. So we just look at this part of the number, we ignore the times 10 to the, and there's a decimal present, first non-zero number we come to, and everything after it, 1, 2, 3, 3 significant figures. The only other thing that you might see is something that has a line over it like this. This one, decimal is absent, but that line tells us that that 0 is significant. So this would have 2 significant figures. Decimal absent, we start from the Atlantic side, first number we come to, and everything after it. So this kind of explains it down here. Counting numbers, which are numbers that we do not use an instrument to measure. So for instance, if I said that there were 12 learners in the classroom, that is, we don't use significant figures. Nothing occurs with that, so we treat it as an infinite number. So whenever we go to use significant figures, addition or subtraction, it's based on the place value of decimals. So we report our answer to the least number of place values. So if something's to the tens place and something's to the hundreds place, our answer is to the least number, which would be the tens place. That's not used as much as multiplication and division. So basically we look at how many significant figures are in our measurements if we're multiplying or dividing, and whatever the least number, that's how many significant figures we report our answer to. So there are a couple examples that we'll go over and then some problems for you to work on. So here are our examples. So the first one's addition. So when we add these two numbers together, we get 4.0456. And that would be fine in math class. But for this class, we are going to want to round this to the proper number of significant figures. So this one is to the 10,000s, this one's to the hundredths. So we have to round this one to the hundredths place. So that would be this number right here, the 4, but the 5 bumps that up, so our answer is 4.05. Our second one, we're multiplying. Remember that multiplying is based on how many significant figures are in each number. This number has 3. This one has 2. So our answer can only have 2 significant figures. So if we put this in our calculator, 97.9 times 54, we get 5,286.6. Now we have to round this to significant figures. So here's our first significant figure. Here's our second. Now our answer is not going to be 53. We know that this 8 bumps that up. We have to put zeros in as placeholders. So it has to be 5300 is our answer. If you have a decimal point after the 0, that would be wrong because that would make these zeros significant. You can also put this into scientific notation. 5.3 times 10 to the third, sometimes that's a little bit easier for significant figures. For this one, we're dividing, so we have to look at the number. So this number has 5 significant figures. This one has 2 significant figures. And this one, we get a really, really big number in our calculator. And I'm going to put it in scientific notation because it ends up being 1.5 times 10 to the 7th. So what I would like you to do is I would like you to try these problems here. One is kind of a lab one, and number 2 are just some calculations. And I will put up a picture of the answers later.